Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm about to take a ride just to get out the house. I got no destination. Wanted to talk a little bit about finishing my master's degree, which is obviously a big deal, and I'm currently riding on my gift to myself. I love starting this thing up. I think she's ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. But yeah, my time at Grand Canyon wasn't bad. It was challenging, but it wasn't anything that was over the top difficult. And I actually liked it more than my bachelor's degree, because you know, when you're doing your bachelor's degree, I feel like at least all the people that I know, you kind of get to a point to where you ask yourself, and it happens to be pretty quickly, you know, why do you got to take all these prereq classes? And it just feels like a big hustle, you know, like they're just milking you for your money. And when you're doing that, it's hard to actually get interested in what you're doing, because that's what people tell you coming out of high school, right? You know, you're going to go to college, you can set up your own courses, and all your classes are going to pertain to your degree, and it's not going to, it's just going to be a better situation to learn. And then you get there, and yeah, you can set up your own schedule, but that doesn't really matter when you're setting up your own schedule for classes that you're really not interested in. So with the master's degree at Grand Canyon, especially if you're doing distance learning, one of the good things about it is, you know, you're done with all your prereqs. So each of the classes you actually go to, for the most part, I'll say about 80% of the courses, no, I won't even say 80%. I would say all the courses you go to once you start your master's degree, at least in my experience at Grand Canyon, they relate to your degree. There's something you can take from each course that will directly relate to your degree, whether it be to improve your writing skills, your communication skills, working on teams, networking, or just specifically being 100% relating to your degree path. They start you off like in any school, you know, with that introductory course, which wasn't too bad. It wasn't bad at all, actually. They pretty much ease you in, because, and it's kind of like the same thing they're doing with the doctorate program now. You know, they don't want to overwhelm you. It's not like how I used to hear it used to be back when I was growing up, where it's just like, you know, you go to college and, you know, course one, you know, you're just drinking from the fire hose, trying to forget all this information in high school, or being told like, yo, don't do any of that stuff you did in high school. But it was an introduction to writing, reading, and basically the language that you need to become familiar with to actually communicate on a scholarly level. And what I mean by that is like the wording, how you phrase sentences, getting away from just, you know, from bullshitting. Each degree path, it has a certain way you need to talk, a certain lingo that you need to become familiar with. So that introductory course does just that. It gets you familiar with that language. And then on top of that, you know, it goes through a lot of the major sources and communities that are going to reoccur throughout your time at the school. Like obviously like the American Psychology Association for me, Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. And then you have a bunch of different communities too that deal with ethics and everything like that. And they teach you how to research. The next few classes I took, including the organizational research psychology course, were basically just making me more proficient and knowledgeable in like the skills that I had already developed. You know, while also educating me on IO and psychology, so it all kind of like comes together at the end. But with that being said, I was on deployment twice for my educational experience, from bachelor's degree to my master's degree. So I will say that there were times where I was like super task saturated between work and getting my homework done, but it's manageable, it's doable. I mean, I was in situations where I was legit in the middle of the sea with spotty Wi-Fi at best, and I got it done. And my master's degree, I got straight A's. So this is not, you know, coming from somebody that just was winging it. You know, I got everything done that I needed to get done, and I was successful. The work, you do your discussion post, I believe it's like 2 a week or whatever. And then you have to respond to 3 students. And then you will get those students, and you'll even do it yourself here and there. But there'll be times when they'll be like, you know, hey, Joey J, I agree with what you said about how when you eat ice cream it makes your mouth cold. And then like the fill-in quote that you need to put, you know, Lipschitz, that's a Rugrats reference for those of y'all that didn't get that. But, you know, Dr. Lipschitz says ice cream is made in the freezer and should be eaten slow. And then the finale, so I could definitely see why when you eat ice cream, you get brain freeze. It's just shit like that, you know, just to get the work done. Everybody does it. You're going to do it, especially if you're doing online courses or whatever the case may be. But for the most part, you know, it's really good to have those discussion posts, because when you actually start getting into those courses that you're interested in, or that you may even be having difficulty in, you know, those forum discussions, that's the time you kind of network and get with other students and see, you know, who's having issues with what, or who's actually doing, you know, who's not having trouble with it, and try to set something up to where you guys can do like some type of group study sesh, or communicate or network, or just have a conversation so you can figure out what the heck's going on. But the class that stood out the most for me in terms of the workload and just the amount of hours that I had to put in to be successful, and it's actually 2. I keep saying the class, but it's actually the classes. The first one was actually my organizational psychology course. Not because the material was hard, because you get to a point in your degree where the material just becomes repetitive, and all your papers are going to somewhat align, and you get to a point, like I would say, definitely by the time you get to your last 3 courses, you'll feel like you can just like easily bullshit a paper, because the topics become the same, and if they're not the same, they're relating, and it's all within, you know, the same scope of information. But the reason why the IO course was difficult is because at the time I was in training department, and I was down in Pendleton with the group that was going through UOT, and we were in these apartments. Wi-Fi was spotty, and I had about 4 hours a day with everything that was going on to actually focus and get my work done. The only good thing about it was when I went down there, it was right around like my midterm week, and we had to do a test. And with tests, I've never been a fan of just random tests on knowledge. in the sense that they're trying to trick you, you know what I mean? Like anytime I do any type of lessons or courses and I have to do a test, I tell people exactly what's going to be on the test. I'm not trying to trick you, because I want you to know where the information is, how to locate it, and then the stuff that I want you to know to be able to ramble off and have like a specific or precise answer to, I'll tell you. I'll be like, look, you need to know this. I won't do like the teacher foot stomp, like, because, you know, from my viewpoint, you know, it's a time and a place. And there are certain things where you might need that all around knowledge, but even so, like, there's still a opportunity to just be like, yo, this is what you're going to be testing on. Like, if you're in the medical field, yeah, certainly. Like, you know, you're probably going to get hit with a bunch of random scenarios. But when it comes to just like book knowledge, like, dude, you know, stop trying to trick me, man. Just tell me what you want me to know. Don't give me 6 chapters and then, like, you know, play this Harry Potter, you know, this Harry Potter magic ass game of just somewhere in these pages is information that I'm going to test you on. And that's basically what happened. And it was a 2-hour test, I believe it was. You have a timer ticking down in your face, open book. But like I said, it was like the information could have been anything. So I didn't know exactly what the structure of this test was going to look like. And needless to say, I wasn't prepared as well as I should have been. And flat out the gate, I bombed that first one. Bombed it. But after I seen how this dude like orchestrated his test, guy's name was Chuck Saganda, African guy, super cool dude. Like, he wasn't a bad professor at all. I just didn't agree with, you know, how he hosted his test. And it could have been just a requirement for the school. But after I had seen it that first time, you know, you adjust, adapt, and overcome. But being that I had bombed that test, I had to get 100% on every other assignment after that. And that was from week 4 of 8, which I did, including like the next test that I had to take, my final, basically. The next course I was actually dreading taking it. It was the graduate level statistics. And I had never taken a stats course. I am not one who would ever in any circumstance say that I am good at math. But I can research the hell out of something, figure out how to do it, and get it done that way. But I won't retain it for a long period of time. Like, I have to continue. You know, it's just one of those situations where there are people in this world who are blessed with a photographic memory, and they only need to see it one time. I am not one of those people.